welcome back to Vinyl Friday. The anchor is currently convalescing, and so she has entrusted us, the correspondents, with the channel today. And what we're going to be doing with this newfound unchecked power is to go through the record collection, the official record collection of Fathom Limited Enterprises and Co. We think it's going to be a ride, and so we would like you to join us on it. Come, let's begin. I'm your piano correspondent, and I am up first. I've been tasked with covering the weirdo electronic albums in the collection. Now, computer nerds were experimenting with the intersection of music and technology years and years before the noble Moog graced the grooves. Oh, it's kind of alliterative, I like that. Graced the grooves of Abbey Road. Will it Beatles? Every friggin' time. Shortly thereafter, though, there was a clamoring to include synthesizers in everything imaginable, and a new genre of musical kitsch formed. Its aim? To translate all music, popular or otherwise, into Moog. I think that's where we're gonna start today. The Moog synthesizer, featuring the plastic cow, which is saying Moog, featuring Lady Jane. All right, so here we go. The track listing on this is Medicine Man, Spinning Wheel, by Blood, Sweat and Tears, originally. I'm sure this is the superior version. Lady Jane, as it says on the cover. The Ballad of John and Yoko, Born to be Wild, Lay Lady Lay, and Sunshine of Your Love, among others. How to choose a song from this illustrious collection? I mean, I think it has to be the Ballad of John and Yoko, don't you? It's labeled track 6, but it's actually 4, so there are 2 6s on side A. All right, here we go. This is the first track 6 on side A. Well, that was horrible. I hope with every fiber of my being that John Lennon had the good fortune to get to hear that version of his song in the short time between when it was released and when he departed this earthly coil. In a similar vein, we have Kaleidoscopic Vibrations, electronic pop music from Way Out by Perry and Kingsley. This one is a little bit more elevator music-y. We've got Strangers in the Night, One Note Samba. And then we've got side 2 opening with a track by the artists on the front cover entitled Baroque Hoedown. I just feel like we have to give that a listen, at least first, you know? Open side 2, it sounds like this. I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. Baroque Hoedown. Now you know. Let's have a listen to Winchester Cathedral. And then we'll put this one to rest. Not only is it kitschy and grating, it's also kind of atonal. It's almost avant-garde. Avant-garde a clue. I think maybe that one needs to visit the Opportunity Shop. This next one is one that I was shocked to find in a bargain bin because it's not an especially well-known record as far as I'm aware. It's one that I like to listen to when I go to bed. Now, I have a very specific requirement for bedtime music. The genre almost doesn't matter. It just needs to be vaguely gentle and dynamically consistent. If there's a spike in the volume at any point, it can wake you up. This album fits the criteria. It's entitled The Golden Voyage, this is volume 2, by Robert Burns and Ron Dexter. It's very calming. I recommend it for going to sleep to. Basically 90% of this album is just crickets chirping, but you see what I mean, right? Like, it can be shrill in places, but it is very nice to go to sleep to, generally speaking. The final album in this segment is my favorite by far. This is an album that has been covered on this channel, so you can learn more about it there. But it was for the longest time very hard to come by. And then recently, there's been this sort of upswelling of support for it. It's always had a cult following, but they were forced to do a reissue. So it's actually really easy to get your hands on this record. Now, this is Mother Earth's Plantasia, Warm Earth Music for Plants and the People Who Love Them by Mort Garson. Full, warm, beautiful mood music especially composed to aid in the growing of your plants. Every track is specially tailored to a specific plant, except for the opener, which is a sort of overture, I suppose. Symphony for a Spider Plant, Baby Tears Blues, Ode to an African Violet, You Don't Have to Walk a Begonia, Mellow Mood for a Maidenhair, Music to Soothe the Savage Snake Plant. I've just discovered there's a book in here. What? Oh my goodness, this is amazing. There are illustrations, there are cartoons. Like this one. It reads, "We've got to accept the idea that plants just up and die for no apparent reason." Relatable. Okay, well, I know what I'm going to be doing with my afternoon. Love this whole album. Definitely give it a listen. If this is your kind of jam, definitely give it a listen. I highly recommend. Hey everyone, I'm the Storytime Correspondent, and I have been tasked with covering the criminally underrated albums in the collection. We're going to go alphabetically, because I'm that kind of a nerd. Which means that we'll be beginning with an album by the Bears. This is a self-titled album. By that I don't mean that they named it themselves, although they did. They named it after themselves. It's eponymous. You get the idea. The Bears were a band from Cincinnati, Ohio, and unfortunately they didn't have an illustrious career, which I think we probably could have surmised from the fact that they are in my category. A thing that I find really interesting about this band, though, is that it features Adrian Belew on guitar. And this is like a really early Adrian Belew. This is before he became a little more well-known. He did eventually leave the band in order to become more well-known. But it means that you've got this delightful little power pop album, really well-written songs, with an unusual avant-garde vein running through them. They sound like this. So that's a good sense of the power poppy sound. But then you'll come across guitar solos like this. Such a singular guitarist, and we get to hear what he sounds like before, I guess he never really made it big, but before he makes it bigger. So that's a nice little power poppy song. I'd also like to quickly showcase, if the others will allow me the extra time, one of their more quiet, sedate tunes. This is probably my favorite track on the album. So that's from a track called Wavelength. I recommend that you have a listen to this album. I suspect that I'll say this after every album on this list, but yeah, just giving you a heads up right now. This is a great album. If you like 70s, actually this came out in 1987, so if you like 80s power pop, these are your guys. Album number 2 on this list is The Golden Age of Wireless by Thomas Dolby. A quirky, slightly synthy 80s album. Thomas Dolby is probably best known for his song, She Blinded Me with Science. She blinded me with science! Which is a fun little, I don't want to debase it and call it a novelty song, but it's within the realm of a novelty song. The thing is that the rest of the writing on this album is surprisingly sophisticated. This band's composition skills are nuanced and multifaceted. This album features some very clever, upbeat numbers like Commercial Breakup. And then there are these more plaintive, meditative, sweet songs. It's a concept album, so it's about radio. This is my favorite track on the album. It's called Airwaves. On my antenna and the 5 o'clock show. Through the airwaves, people never read the airwaves. God, this is a good album. We did an episode on this a while ago. No one watched it because no one really knows the album, but occasionally people will come in and say, I can't believe you've covered this album. It's one of the best albums I've ever heard and no one knows it. So if you know this album already, you can check out that episode here. If you don't know the album, go listen to it, and then you can check out the episode here. Moving right along. Album number 3 is from my home, little old New Zealand. This is an album by Graham Gash entitled After the Carnival. Unfortunately, I can find very little of this on the internet. It's not on streaming services, and there are only a handful of songs available on YouTube that have been uploaded by people. Maybe I should upload it. I don't know. I've been trying to contact Graham for years, but he has never answered my calls because New Zealand is so small that basically everyone is connected by 1 or 2 degrees of separation. But he doesn't know me, so I don't blame him for not answering the phone. But Graham, if you're watching this, I would like to speak with you. I love your work, and this is one of the best albums I've heard this year. Graham was in a band called Waves, which we covered on this channel earlier this year. You know what to do. This is, I believe, his first solo album. It was produced in 1981. Following this, I'm not sure if it's this album or if there are any others. Again, they're hard to come by. He kind of became a recluse and disappeared, which perhaps explains why he doesn't answer the phone. I'm just going to play you a little bit of this album so you can hear what it sounds like. This is the vibe. Like ice inside my head. On the one hand, it's very acoustic and folky. On the other hand, there are a lot of jazz elements to it, especially in the chord voicings, the chord choices. It's much like Thomas Dolby, very sophisticated in its songwriting, although the textures themselves couldn't be farther from Thomas Dolby's. If you can find this album, buy it. It's amazing. And I think it's probably the only way you'll be able to hear it. And if you're Graham Gash, call me back, man! And also thanks for making such a spectacular album. I really appreciate it. Our next album is probably the most well-known one of these underrated albums. It's by folk guitarist John Renbourn. And he's best known for doing beautiful finger work on guitar, and it's very traditional in style. This, though, is an album of medieval music. Hello, cat. What a cool concept. It's beautifully done because, as I said, he was a very accomplished and skilled guitarist. But it's just a lovely album. I really enjoy putting it on in the middle of winter and drinking hot chocolate or something equally indulgent. Hello, how you doing? It's just a very cozy album. So if you're feeling desolate in the middle of winter, I recommend that you bundle up in a blanket and put this on. It's the right vibe. Oh, and this album came out in 1972. Okay, this next one is very niche. This was an album that I heard of from my mother, who had bought it in the 1980s, which you can probably tell from the leg warmers on the back. This artist's name is Paloma San Basilio. This is her 1983 album, Dama. She's from Spain. So if you weren't into Spanish pop music in the 1980s, odds are good that you won't have heard this album. It's got some very cheesy, very 80s sounding tunes, like this one, which I do happen to love. I love that song. But then there are these truly beautiful pieces of art on this very 80s album. Actually, pretty much everything on this list has been very 80s. She's a very distinctive voice, and it's actually really well suited to these kinds of songs. Just truly beautiful pieces of work. All right, we're on to our last two. This is an album called The Tubes by, you guessed it, The Tubes. It's another power pop piece, 1975 this time. I've just realized there's like a weird inscription on the record itself. It says, "This is the 84th time I have lied to the nation. Al." Well, that's not very nice, Al. Oh, there's another one on the back. This is weird. Don't you wish you had a baby's arm holding an apple? Question mark. Okay. The thing that I find interesting about having bought this record a few months ago is that when we were doing our research for the XTC episode, which came out a few weeks ago on the channel, We learned that the drummer of the Tubes is the person who is playing drums on XTC Skylarking. The Tubes sound like this. Even though my name is in the neighborhood. That's the general gist. That feels dismissive. It's a whole album of music and it doesn't all sound like that, but that should be enough to be going with for now. If you liked that, go listen to the album. Okay, and last one, it is again a power pop album. This one's from 1973. It is by a band called Stories. Their particular brand of power pop is that sideways, sparkling, and ebullient. Effervescent, a little jangly, and it has hints of the Beatles, like this. Love is in motion. I'm trying to... Or for something a little more energetic. It's a good time. It's a good time. The Spanish 80s pop might not be for you, but if you like the Beatles, which you probably do if you've happened upon this channel, especially if you like Paul McCartney's work, this might be a bit of you. So I hope in this you've found something you'll love. Who's next?
It's me, your bass correspondent, and I'm here to tell you about unusual soundtracks. When I was taking inventory of this record collection, I was shocked to find that we had not one, not two, but 5 unusual soundtracks. To be clear, there are more than 5 soundtracks in the record collection. These are just the weirdest ones. Let's kick things off with The Point by one Harry Nilsson. This is the soundtrack to a film by the same name, which follows a young boy named Oblio and his dog Arrow. The story, I've just learned from these liner notes, is written by Harry Nilsson himself. I've also just learned that the story came to Harry Nilsson when he was on acid and looking at trees and finding that everything ended in a point, hence The Point. This movie was originally aired as an ABC special in 1971 with a voiceover by Dustin Hoffman. The voiceover in subsequent VHS and DVD releases was done by none other than Mr. Richard Starkey.
Everything all had points on them. Even the people had points.
Will it Beatles? Yes, it will.
Let's have a listen to it.
Me and my arrow.
If I remember correctly, I think that song was actually covered by, or sampled by a rapper.
Amazing Phasia, Deja, hazy ways, my blades and arrow.
I think it was probably a great option for sampling because of that really strong drum beat, which ironically is not played by Ringo. I believe it's played by John Guerin, and I believe it's the same John Guerin who's a drummer who was fortunate enough to be the beau of one Joni Mitchell, but who also was a very talented drummer. Album number 2 is a soundtrack that I actually have 2 copies of. Ipin Tombi, a South African musical that my parents went to go see in the 90s. Wow, there's nudity on this cover. I won't be showing that, as I don't want this video taken down. Anyway, my parents bought the soundtrack. My mother and my sister loved it, and I was tolerant of it at first, but my sister played it so often that I came to hate it with a burning passion. It's odd how these things work out, because as it happens, it now reminds me really strongly of a particular period in my childhood, and I've come to like it again. Here's what it sounds like. What a great way to open an album, on a beautiful choral 6th chord. It's also got some very upbeat numbers. What more is there to say about that? It's great. I don't even remember what the play is about. I'm terribly sorry. Some of the others are a little more diligent in their researching skills. I tend to just leave things to the last minute, so you have to go find it for yourself and see if you like it. This next one is one that I don't even know. It's a recent addition to the collection, and it is the soundtrack to a movie I've never heard of called Cat People. It includes the extended version of Putting Out Fire, sung by David Bowie, and the music is by Giorgio Moroder. And both of those things obviously were selling points to whoever it was who bought this copy, probably the anchor. So today I'm gonna hear what it sounds like for the first time. Let's go on this journey together. This first track is called... Excuse me, what? I've just discovered David Bowie's Station to Station. What a find, because this would have come out of a bargain bin. There are 2 discs in here. What's the second one? Aha, Cat People.
Score! Didn't know I had Station to Station. Right, okay, here we go. Putting Out Fire. This is the David Bowie track, vocal by David Bowie. And then we'll have a listen to one of the other ones, which I suspect will be instrumental.
And I've been putting out fire.
Yep, that's definitely David Bowie. What else have we got? Soundtrack makes me want to see the film. It's got that sort of like moody edginess that you only find in 1982. Cool. I'm gonna have to go seek out this film. This next one is from a film that I watched when I was probably too young, but it ended up being a very formative experience, and I watched it many, many times, probably for that reason. This is the original motion picture soundtrack from A Chorus Line, which came out in 1985. Really early on, this channel was an alphabetical journey through the record collection. Over time, it settled into more of a scheduled routine. But it means that this is one of the earliest albums that was covered on the channel, and it remains, I think, the least watched video on the channel, which is a pity because we really were enthusiastic about the music. Having said that, I don't necessarily recommend that you go back and watch it because I think it's fair to assume that the production value was extremely low. All right, we're on to our last one. The BBC TV serial, The Singing Detective, or specifically the soundtrack of, because the film, or TV series rather, takes place in 1945, the soundtrack is like Bing Crosby, Andrews Sisters, Duke Ellington, Vera Lynn. Let's have a listen to some Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters. And then after that, I think we should also have a listen to Ella Fitzgerald and the Ink Spots. Just because.
You gotta accentuate the positive.
I mean, what's not to love there? Okay, and then there's Ella Fitzgerald.
Into each life some rain must fall.
Oh, Pipes of Gold. I do love some Ella Fitzgerald. You know what? I'm going to leave this out and give that a listen as well. Lucky last! It's me, your drum correspondent. I've got what I would consider to be the honorable mentions category because these records don't really fit into any of the others. There are three of them. The first is here because while it was a fairly popular album upon its release, which was recent, it's sort of incongruous in the context of my collection. The next is the opposite of that. It is completely unheard of and thoroughly strange, but incredibly enjoyable nonetheless. And then the last is in this category solely for the cover. To be honest, I don't even know what it sounds like. I've never made it past the cover. So let's start with the first one. Logically. The first one is the Barbie soundtrack. I, like many others before me, enjoyed the Barbie movie. And then a few months passed and I thought that really is a very superficial takedown of the patriarchy. There was definitely room for more. There was room for more. But, you know, for some people it was really groundbreaking, so we've got to give it to them. And also, I'm a huge fan of practical effects. As a descendant of Animal. Yeah, a little Muppets joke there for you. This came out in 2023. Obviously, it's the soundtrack that accompanied the film. It features music by such illustrious artists as Dua Lipa, Nicki Minaj, Charlie XCX, Sam Smith, Haim, Billie Eilish. And Billie Eilish's track is really lovely on this. But I think my favorite has got to be the Tame Impala offering. Who rings? All right, thanks. Bye. Back to the music. Oh, and also it's pink vinyl. Obviously. I kind of like that. It has this very Disney feel about it. It sort of reminds me of A Whole New World or Beauty and the Beast. It has very similar musical motifs. But at the same time, it is clearly and obviously Tame Impala. It's got that same undercurrent. Get it? Little joke for you Tame Impala fans out there. Let's move on. Okay, this next one is a banger. It's a banger, but it is weird, okay? So bear with me. We're about to indulge our inner hippie. This album is by the formidable Vegetable Sound System, and it's entitled Permaculture, a rhymer's manual. Now, I think probably the artist is best equipped to explain what this album is, so I will take a reading from the back. Here we go. Earth care, people care, fair share, ukulele. Permaculture is a way for us to design better connections between community, family, and our front yards. Ukulele is a way to have lots of fun. Together they can fix the world. This album is inspired by the 12 principles from Permaculture, Principles and Pathways Beyond Sustainability, by David Holmgren. Okay, so if you're wondering what permaculture is, we're going to Wikipedia this because I don't feel like I can summarize this particularly effectively. So help us out, Wikipedia. Permaculture is an approach to land management and settlement design that adopts arrangements observed in flourishing natural ecosystems. It includes a set of design principles derived using whole systems thinking. It applies these principles in fields such as regenerative agriculture, town planning, rewilding, and community resilience. That's probably everything we need to know about it. So Formidable Vegetable Sound System is a permaculture band. Now, you would think that this whole thing would be a gimmick. You know, like a concept album about gardening played on ukulele. It sounds like a nightmare, honestly, as I'm saying it out loud. But even if you knew nothing about permaculture, each of the songs on this album is actually really well written in its own right. Surprisingly. So well done, Formidable Vegetable Sound System. Each of the songs is based on one of the principles of permaculture. So let's have a listen to my favorite song on this album, track 2, side 2, Get Together. I like that the picture is just a radish. There's no side A or side B, it's just radish. And also radish. It got a little bit warped in transit because it's come from Australia where it is hot. Fortunately, my bandmate in Tweed did what we were too scared to do and put it in his oven until it was warm enough that he could... Whatever. He fixed it. I don't really like thinking about it. It terrifies me. What I was going to say is that the melody in the verse is really lovely.
I don't know what you're doing all alone.
Also, this song has a fantastic bass line. I'm not the bass correspondent, but can you hear that?
I see you there.
Love a 6/8. Lovely. Okay. And then the chorus sounds like this.
Let's get together.
And they're a great live band as well because they're an Australian band. They toured in New Zealand, which most small bands from North America, for instance, never do. Improvement Movement, if you're watching this, I would like for you to come to New Zealand. Get Together is based on Principle 8. You're learning so much about permaculture right now. Principle 8, integrate rather than segregate. Great life advice anyway, generally. So that's Permaculture, a Rhymer's Manual, which brings us to our last one, which we're going to discover together because, as I said, I've never listened to it. All right, people, you ready for this? This album is entitled Heimatklinge by Hans Steiger. And this is what Hans Steiger looks like. How about those lederhosen? Or the unbuttoned shirt and the chest hair and the leg. This man looks like he chops wood. My mother was trying to get rid of the family record collection, so obviously I got first dibs of everything. And I felt like I couldn't let this one go, you know? Like, how many copies of Heimatklinge are there floating around the world? Maybe this is rare. All right, here's what Hans Steiger's Heimatklinge sounds like. Let's have a listen to track 1. This is called Das Schönste auf der Welt, which is followed by Walze Potpourri. First things first. Here we go. Track 1, side 1, sounds like this. Yep, that's about what I thought it would sound like. I am a bit curious about Walze Potpourri, so we're going to have a little listen to that as well, and then we're going to sign off. Yep, again, that tracks. And that's it. Those are the weirdest albums in the collection. I hope you enjoyed going on this journey with us. If you enjoyed this episode or you would like to support the weird things that we do, like this, there will be a link in the description to our Buy Me a Coffee page where you are most welcome to make a donation if you wish, but no pressure, my friends. Thank you so much to everybody who has made a donation or signed up as a member. We really appreciate you. Even this guy appreciates you. If you're curious about what any of our original music sounds like, there will be a link to that in the description as well. Otherwise,
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you here next week.
Have a great weekend! The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun.
And I have been entrusted with the Fathom Enterprises Limited & Co. and Sons